The views and opinions expressed by the hosts do not state or reflect those of the company and its management. Any assumptions, views, and insinuations made by the hosts or guests do not reflect those of the show, the management, and the network. Listener discretion is advised.
Warning. This podcast contains spoilers.
Third World Cinema Club.
Okay, so let's move on to our next film. I think this one is a very exciting film, also from Midnight Madness. It's called Shadow in the Cloud. It's directed by Rose Ann Liang, and it's about this pilot officer, portrayed by Chloe Grace Moretz, who travels in what do you call this? A jet with a couple of men inside, but with her, she's carrying her with her is like a bag with top secret information or what have you. And then this basically becomes one of the centerpieces of the conflict until we end up seeing like a monster in what do you call this, in the jet, and then it becomes total madness all throughout. Yun. So ayun guys, this was very fun. This was a very fun film. What are your thoughts about Shadow in the Cloud? Ikaw, Kevin, what are your
Kevin, let's
Okay,
hear from Kevin.
I'll start off.
Oh.
Okay. I did enjoy the first part. Yeah. We actually discussed this with Princess na. So, yeah, the claustrophobic feel and, the commentary about, male toxicity in the workplace, which, still remains to be relevant now, though at times it can be passive aggressive, though sometimes medyo blatant. So, ito, I did find that metaphorical ball turret where she was stuck for majority of the film feels like this social construct that she's trying to get outside, and she can't do anything. Yun. So I did enjoy that part. Then come second half, that come the third act, a lot of ridiculous things happen. So it's slightly linked to a B movie. And then my impression was, when it comes to B movie, I'm not saying that B movies are bad, but I think there are some elements that happened, some stunts, a lot of crazy things happened that it felt like you need to ignore some of these things out because they're not happening out of logic, out of physics. So you don't need to take them seriously. And I think it kind of contradicts what they're building on the first part. So yun, I was kind of mixed, but I definitely enjoyed it because 80-minute runtime, the moment it started, the moment plane took off, the tension was there and all throughout. So it's definitely perfect for that midnight madness section. Yeah. And Chloe Grace Moretz was great in that film.
I think for me, I found this more exciting than Chloe Grace Moretz's other films. Um, I guess we had a discussion with Kevin previously na yun nga, I did say na um, this is one of her best performances ever kasi she totally carried the whole film despite all the controversies that led to the creation of the concept and all. The film itself is very it speaks for itself. So it doesn't pretend to be just a complete war film. It actually is a good addition to the Midnight Madness repertoire, I guess. So yun. And then at the same time, I always hear from you guys that you guys felt like it's like a B movie, but for me it didn't really connected to that. Although I do understand like the costume of her costume na parang skinny pants or pantsuit or whatever. Tapos yung synthetic or synthesizer music pa towards the end, ganun. And then of course, that other thing na parang it's very impossible to sustain all throughout the film. na-sustain siya. So, I guess that kind of gave it like a little bit of campy feels. Pero, ayun, same with other films in this edition of the festival. It's very socially relevant. Nafe-feel mo yung isolation. It's felt sorry. It's felt all throughout the film. And from the start to the finish, na parang kahit na she's able to see her co-pilots, you can still feel that as a woman she's carrying the whole film on her own.
Tama. Ako I agree with Ate Ses that it may look like a B movie, or at least, its superficial layer is that it does look like a B movie. But for me, it's more of like just a budget thriller about a woman who's trying to, prove her worth in a society that is dominated by patriarchy. Kasi very in a way, there's like this first act dun sa film wherein it almost played out like a chamber theater piece wherein it's only centered on Chloe Grace Moretz and how she's internalizing all of the feedback that she's getting from the other male characters, the jet, in the plane. And it's a very powerful study on misogyny, and it's the society is dominated by men, and patriarchy is the name of the game. And Chloe Grace Moretz coming out, by entering the jet plane is like a sign, that even though she's a woman in the society, despite all of the differences within her, she's able to take over everything, and prove her worth in the society, especially towards the last part of the film. Although it's a little spoilery na, but there are some things that she did towards the last part that it may sound far-fetched, or it may look far-fetched rather, pero nakakatuwa kasi she's the only one who can do that eh. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about, with that particular scene that no one ever expected to
Oh.
appear. Yan. How about you guys? What are your other thoughts about Shadow in the Cloud?
I think ito yung type ng film na yun, di ba normally, we have experiences na nakapanood tayo ng film and you want to tell a friend what happens, the entire story. I
Yes.
think someone will struggle to tell the story of this film to other person. Just like I don't know if you have seen the film Colossal, yung kay Anne Hathaway. Nag-struggle din ako ikwento yung storya sa isang tao because a lot of things happen. Like in this film, every 15 or 20 minutes or so, something different happens and hindi mo alam kung saan papunta yung trajectory ng story. Kaya it's very hard to tell someone in sequential order what's happening in the movie because sasabihin niya na start ka nga uli sa simula, ano nangyari uli? Parang ganun. So parang to me, the medium, kung paano niya narrate sa medium yung story, sa medium of film, I think na-own niya because it's very unique, because it's very rare for a film na yung mahirap siyang i-translate into other medium. For example, storytelling or you write about it. But this film, I think, it's just what it is. The way it was edited, I think it's really distinct and it's not awkward because if you see it as a whole, I think it works.
Tama.
Ikaw, Doc, you saw Shadow in the Cloud.
Yeah, Shadow in the Cloud. What can I say about it? For one, I really enjoyed it like the rest of us, I think. It feels like a mishmash of different films. Of course, the first 40 minutes, the part where the part in the turret is very, gaya nga ng sabi, I think si Kevin yung nagsabi na there's a claustrophobic feel. It's reflected in the visuals, in the cinematography. Kasi that helplessness na hindi ka makalabas. And nabenta ni Chloe Grace Moretz yun, in fairness sa kanya. I think she has a lot of potential as an actress, and she really showed a lot of her chops here. And then once the second half goes through, parang hindi naman devolves, it parang evolves into a more or less straightforward genre film. Which I also enjoyed, even though medyo, if it depends on how much you're willing to suspend your disbelief. And I also, interesting sa akin na medyo overt yung messaging niya. Because originally, I remember this film was written by Max Landis, who also wrote the film, what do you call this? The one with the orc cup, sila ni Will Smith. Bright. Yan. And in Bright, very overt din yung messaging niya, if you remember. Like the orcs are these minorities, and then there's kind of racism against orcs. And then I learned that Roseanne Liang extensively rewrote this film after Landis left the project. So I'm interested in knowing how much of Landis' original vision was still in this film. Kasi parang nandun pa rin yung symbolisms eh, pero may nuance ng konti na naipasok. Pero yun nga, there are still times na sobrang medyo may pagka over the top pa rin siya. Lalo na yung ending, parang the ultimate flex. Spoiler alert na lang. Basta may gagawin daw si Chloe Grace Moretz na parang, I am a woman, hear me roar. Ganun ang level of yung nakukuha vibe sa kanya dun sa, yung ginawa niya dun sa end of the film. Look at me, I'm a woman. Ganun. Tapos,
Yeah, parang
Ano lang,
hey,
not to
this is
give away.
this is for feminism.
Oo.
nakasang bandera no?
Not to give away, parang pupunitin ko to, ganon.
Mabuhay ang kababaihan. Ganun. Pero yun, I really, really enjoyed pa rin siya. Parang, it's very nice to see films with, badass women doing awesome things. And yun nga, I like the angle din na sinabi Engelbert na, she's trying to prove herself. I think that's the key word in this film, to prove oneself. She doesn't really need to prove herself, but she has to because of society. She knows she's good. She's good. Parang deep down. Pero ang dami pang balakid doon. Ang daming obstacles to doing that. Kasi people just don't believe that she's as good as she says she is. Yun lang.
Ako naman, with Shadow in the Cloud, na-enjoy ko siya. Kasi ito yung klase ng pelikula na hindi ka na mag-iisip ng malalim, hindi ka na maghahanap ng, alam mo yun, ano ba symbolism nito, ano ba ibig sabihin nito, ganyan, gano'n. Yung tipong hahanap ka pa ng mga context, gano'n. Saka, ayun nga, I agree with John, straightforward genre film kasi ito. And I believe Chloe Grace Moretz gave a fantastic performance naman dito sa film. So kahit na, alam mo, ang daming nangyari, naka-imposiblihan, no? Like yung may pumutok, bilang bumalik sumabog, may bumalik sa aeroplano si Chloe Grace Moretz, or I mean sa chopper ba or whatever na aircraft thingy, diba? Tapos, ano pa ba? Yung parang design siya yung character ni Chloe Grace Moretz. Pinapattern siya with Ellen Ripley, played by Sigourney Weaver in Aliens, diba? Although, iba yun. So, lalo na in Aliens kasi may motherhood, may motherhood part kasi sa Aliens Although dito, spoiler alert, panoorin niyo pag meron na yung Shadow in the Clouds, ganon. And then, basta parang nakakatuwa si Chloe Grace Moretz dito kasi Tom Cruise samping. Parang imposible ng mga nangyari. Pero enjoy, diba? And lalo na dun sa ending, may may pa-advocacy pa si Lola mo na parang, ay, nagawa niya yun sa dami ng nangyari. Paano, girl? Diba?
True.
Ayan. So let's move on to our next film. Ayan. So this is a Japanese film. It's called Under the Open Sky. It's directed by Miwa Nishikawa, and it stars Yakusho Koji, who is very famous for being one of the actors in this classic film called Tampopo. So Under the Open Sky is about this who was released from prison after serving 13 years because of his murder sentence. And then as soon as he gets out, he realizes that life of a normal everyday person is totally different than from when he was still a member of the Yakuza. Yan. So, for those who have seen Under the Open Sky, what are your thoughts about the film? Kuya Rolando, ikaw.
To me, I really like it because it's a good character study of yung commentary about how the society treats people who want to change or who are willing to change. At parang pinakita ng film na it should be two ways, right? We cannot expect people to change after they serve, for example, yung punishment nila. But the society and the government are not accepting in return. So I think para ma-fine-tune yung communication and yung relationship na yun, I think both of the parties should be open-minded because several times in the film pinakita na he's willing to do something and yet may prejudice pa rin yung mga members of the society or even the government doesn't support what he wants to do. Like for example, kung gusto niya i-allot yung money na binigay sa kanya ng government into something like personal phone, kailangan pa niya itanong or something else na sa tingin niya makakatulong sa sarili niya. So I think there's so many layers in the film na hindi lang siya very emotional but will make you think about the maturity of our own governments in general on how we treat people with special circumstances like him. Hindi lang yung mga ex-convict, but how would we treat members of the society with special needs, for example. So I think it's one of the things that opportunity na ma-reflect ng mga audience because when I went here in Canada, I realized that there's so much things way back home in the Philippines na I hope na magkakaroon ng focus moving forward. Like, for example, mental health, like, it's very important topic. And I hope na yung society is very accepting na, for example, ang addiction sa drugs is not a criminal concern but rather a social welfare concern. Yun yung para sa akin yung ultimate message ng film. It doesn't want people to give prejudice to these victims of circumstances, of different circumstances. So it's an opportunity for the people. So I would like more people to see this film.
Yun. No? How about you, Kevin? Napanood mo yung diba?
Yes.
Under
Yeah, I love this one. Find it really truly affecting and heartbreaking at the same time. So yun, the topic of ex-convicts, we don't really get to see much of those teams. They try to, I really felt the plight kasi they try to reintegrate to this society that they felt like a stranger, and they're breaking the stigmas, and then there's prejudice in, kasi for these types of people, you need to really give them a legit opportunity to start over with their lives. And I guess I might have to add that the performance of the actor here, Koji, he's really good. The movie took me to different emotions, and I think there was filled with hope towards the end, then it shatters again your heart. So I felt like I was watching a Koreeda film. Yun na kasi ang pinaka-accessible kung filmmaker. So, and then I also like to add na I like na the movie didn't hold back when it comes to the moral ambiguity of the characters. Pinakita din yung conflict nung main protagonist kasi in the end, like, people are not giving me a chance, so might as well stick into the labels that they're giving me. So it's really heartbreaking, and I think a lot of people should see this because as Rolando said, this is our eye opener and really depressing stuff, but it's an important film for me.
I agree. For me, Under the Open Sky is a great film. There was one particular angle that I also want to highlight. There was one part in the film wherein nakita natin yung exploitation of ex-convicts in media because of one of the characters in the film, which is Isunoda. So Sunoda is like an up and coming TV director who's given an opportunity to direct what do you call this, Mikami, the ex convict. And basically it's also he's also like one of the main characters in the sense that we get to see him change his perspective about people, in the sense that we're not limited to what we used to be or what we were in the past, but so long as people, or so long as we are all open to change, then we can always drive each other to make the whole world a better place to live in. With the film in general, it's very effective in how it showed the struggle of an ex-convict. I agree with what everyone said, with what Kevin and Rolando said. It's very thought-provoking, and at the same time, it's very genuine how we get to see Mikami, Yakusho Koji's character, whose performance is immensely impressive. We get to see him grow and develop into this character who's multi-layered and at the same time very fascinating, because he starts off very rash, very brash, very impulsive, very adamant to society, but eventually he acknowledges all of his shortcomings, he acknowledges all of the problems that he has, and at the same time he uses it as an opportunity for him to move forward with society, even though society doesn't want him to move forward, and that he's always going to be stuck in that same hole that he's been to all these years. He still did his best to move forward, to show to people that people can change and that nothing stays the same forever. I agree that Yakusho Koji gave a very impressive performance here, and personally, I think everyone should watch Under the Open Sky. It's a very effective film about a flawed man trying to seek redemption in a society that dictates what a person or what people are and should be. No. How about you, Doc? What are your thoughts about Under the Open Sky?
This film, yun nga, this film has been done a couple of times before. Yung the prisoner who is released into a world na parang pinaglipasan na siya. Films like Love D.S.'s Ang Babaeng Humayo, recently yung shorts na Tahanan, Brillante Mendoza, Shiniuma, also starring Lou Veloso. Alam mo yun. But there's parang a difference in the way the character is treated. I guess one of the things na hindi pa na-discuss about this film here was when Koji Yakusho's character goes out into the world. There are a lot of people who treat him very kindly, who give, although yung una there was dinidiscriminate siya, parang the more they get to know him, the more they parang endear themselves to him, and the more help he receives. So, yung mga little acts of kindness na yon, I really appreciated in this film. Lalo na, it really, matingkad siya lalo na sa parang third act of the film na, ang daming tumutulong talaga sa kanya. There are a lot of people who wants to make him succeed. And I think that's what pushes his character to talaga magbago for the better. Additionally, if you've watched Nishikawa's filmography, films like Yume Urufutari, nasa 2012 film, or Dear Doctor, pinalabas yun sa Igasai dito sa Pinas. Mga ganong films niya. They're about, or actually even The Long Excuse, which was a film that was released recently. They're about people who, there are people who use lies and deceit to fool others into thinking they're not who they're supposed to be. They're conning either other people or themselves. Tapos, at first glance, Koji Yakusho's character is parang the antithesis of those kinds of characters. He's very blunt. He's very true to himself, almost in an un-Japanese fashion. Kasi di ba Japanese will be very humble. They will say they will keep their true feelings to themselves. Pero Mikami or Yakusho's character he wears his heart on his sleeve. And he goes through most of the film like that. And it has gotten him into trouble in the past. I mean, the inciting incident for what led him to be put into prison was due to his candor, to his being true to himself. Once he changes, doon yung pumapasok yung sinabi ni Kevin na moral ambiguity, which Nishikawa tends to insert in her films. And naging paradox siya na tipong the fact that he's trying to change goes against him trying to be true to himself. And doon parang stealth pumasok yung themes ulit ni Nishikawa. And ang ganda ng interplay between that decision kasi there's no right answer eh. There's one choice that everyone's rooting for you, pero you feel miserable about yourself because you're not being yourself. As opposed to being true to yourself but still being kumbaga hindi naman a menace to society pero a trouble to society. Ganon. It's about living versus just surviving, and it shows then it's a film full of paradoxes. The title itself, Under the Open Sky, it gives you a sense of freedom. Even the Japanese title, Subarashiki Sekai, a beautiful, a wonderful world, diba? Parang yes, it's a wonderful world being free, but if you're not yourself in this beautiful world, what kind of a life are you living? So, yun yung takeaway ko ako from it. It's a very well acted, very it's a bit languid, it's a bit slow character study, maybe a bit overlong, some would say. Pero ako, knowing Nishikawa, this is a very great entry from her. Yun. Those are my thoughts.
Yun. Any more thoughts, guys, about Under the Open Sky? Ayan. Okay. So now let's move on to a Georgian film from the Discovery section. It's called Beginning. It's directed by... Shit, ang haba ng pangalan. Wait lang. Deya Kulumbegashvili. I hope I said that correctly. Hindi ko rin alam eh. But it's about a community of Jehovah's Witnesses. They are being attacked by this group of extremists who do not believe in the beliefs of their religion. And then in the midst of the conflict, there's this woman whose name is Yana. She's the wife of the sort of like the community leader of the Jehovah's Witnesses in the area. And then as soon as the man, the husband leaves so that he can focus on his Jehovah's Witness work, Yana's life and, what do you call this? Her family crumbles in the process of the many things that transpired in the film. Yun. So, what are your thoughts about Beginning? Kuya Jim, napanood mo to, diba?
Yes, napanood ko siya pero simula lang. Kasi may ginagawa na ako eh. Sorry, may workout that time. Parang nasingit ko lang siya. Although, dun sa simula, aminado, di ba sobrang slow pace and then ang daming long takes, hindi ko napigilang antukin. Ito yung film na talagang, oh my gosh, parang nai-hypnotize ata ako sa pagkatulog, ganun. And then, ang napansin ko lang dun sa naabutan kong part ng pelikula, parang hindi na nabigyan ng justice or hindi na nabigyan masyado ng explanation or the relevance sa story nung sa Jehovah's Witness, ganun. And then, ano pa ba? Masyadong tawag dito, yung pinakita yung misogyny. Yun yung nakikita ko kasi grabe yung ginawa dun sa babae. I mean dun sa lead actress, 'di ba, na parang ni-rape ganyan, and then may may pinagawa si Kuya something, yung police. So parang sabi ko, gosh, ano tong nangyayari dito sa film, ganun. And then, I agree with you dun sa chat box when you said na it feels like parang or Kevin De La Cruz yung style of filmmaking. Ayun, yun lang yung masasabi ko kasi nasimulan ko lang siya and then paputol-putol yung load ko because I'm doing something. So, yun.
Ayun. I think this is one of the films sa lineup na I really anticipated, but in a way na disappoint ako. Not because it wasn't good. I mean, the shots were, impressive. Like it's a technically well-crafted film. Beginning. My problem is with its what do you call this, commentaries on womanhood, or at least being a woman in the society. Kind of like with Shadow in the Cloud, although Shadow in the Cloud kasi, gets the job done, so to speak. But with Beginning kasi, very defeatist siya, and it doesn't really offer any, what do you call this, any viable resolution to the problems that were opened. Tas parang what happened was with the woman, with I think si Yana, what do you call this? She goes through a lot. Like, ang dami niya kanilang pagdaanan, from, spoiler alert, from being raped, do you call this, to being condemned by her husband because she was raped. Now, very defeatist. And at the same time, it also says a lot about how, what do you call this? How Georgian society perceives the religion of Jehovah's Witnesses. They're the minority. I'm not very familiar in the religious scene in Georgia, so I can't give too much opinion about it. But evidently, they're obviously the minority in terms of talks about religion, and knowing that they weren't really doing bad. In fact, they're even helping people out. Pero parang, the fact that towards the end, they were just willingly giving up on fighting these extremist groups. Parang it says a lot about, what do you call this, how injustice prevails in the society. And they're not even given an option to move forward. I mean, they're just giving up. They're probably just gonna move to a different place. Ganyan. And with Yana, after experiencing so much stuff, so much harrowing and unnecessary things with what happened to her, parang hindi siya nabigyan ng opportunity to grow as a character. That she just became a victim of circumstance, of terrible, unforeseen circumstances. Ayun. So, yeah, I didn't like it. It was, for me, tawag dito, it was a very anti-feminist film. Yan.
Ay nga pala, Rafi, I agree with
Kuya
you.
Rolando, ikaw, I think you liked it, diba?
Yeah, personally, I like it because yung approach ng filmmaking, I really like yung fan ako kasi na slow cinema, and I really like the shots. Although, I agree that the movie presented a lot of problems and more problems rather than at least one solution. It didn't. So I think maybe that's the intention of the filmmaker to send a message of the problem in the Georgian society. So there's a lot of loose ends as well dun sa story, but I can't ignore the film because it's very meditative and it requires your sensory attention, and I like the feeling while I'm watching the film. Although, yeah, some of the shots are really long, but overall, I would say that it was an experience watching it. It's not perfect, but I think I didn't regret watching it as compared to other films like Good Joe Bell. I mean, I wish I haven't seen it, but I think, yeah, I like this film more than a lot of films I've seen at the.
Oh, ang ganda ng shots, no? Like, there were a lot of times wherein you'll get immersed in how the cinematographer shot those long takes.
Especially yung rape scene, di ba?
Ay, oo.
Oo,
And
diba?
nag-work yung lack of music, or May music nun, di ba? Pero parang hindi, we don't really hear the woman and the man in the film. Mas naririnig natin yung atmosphere. Kaya parang it adds that ambiguity dun sa story ng babae. Kasi it's obviously within the perspective of the woman.
Yeah,
So,
but you're right. Tama ka na, na-disappoint din ako kasi this is the only film from Cannes Film Festival that was nagkaroon ng crossover from TIFF and New York Film Festival. And naselect din siya ng San Sebastian Film Festival. So you would think that, oh, para ba tong Parasite? Because, you know, I mean, yung mga nagko-crossover, limited lang dahil yung Cannes, di ba, way back May pa. So to be picked up by several film festival, it means it's something. So that's why I'm also disappointed, you know, na hindi pala siya ganun kaganda or perfect as a film.
mm-mm. Ikaw, Kevin, what are your thoughts about Beginning?
Yeah, definitely agree on what you said. Stunning cinematography, I had to hand that to them. And that even though, it's painfully slow, gonna say I'm not a big fan of this directing style, slow cinema, not really a big fan. But there are some creative choices here that I haven't seen before in the indie movies of the past, especially that first scene. I think that was well directed. That's a long take, parang almost 10 minutes. Then that rape scene that we're all talking about, and then the exclusion of music, it all feels real. But without that redemption arc that we're talking about, that solid redemption arc, and that directing style more on the static shots, stagnant shots, and you find it hard piecing it together. So in the end, it felt more like exploitative. So I don't think it really contributed that much. But what sucks is these stories are worth telling, and I know this when pieced together better, they will be able to spark more of that issue that's currently existing there. So I was a bit left wanting for more, especially to sa ending, diba? I asked you guys, like, what's the interpretation behind that, because it's a little bit vague. But with the help of you, we were able to piece it together. But I guess I just wanted to see something that has substance, but at the same time will help the audience comprehend it, not just being overindulgent. But I really do appreciate the shots here, and I felt the plight of the protagonist here. I just wish that we get to see more perspective from the others, and then show her redemption arc towards the end, and not just being rushed. Yun.
Yeah. Let's just say na doon sa buong film, daming pinagdaanan ni bakla, no? Like, dami talaga.
That's it. That's the end of this episode. Thank you so much for listening. This would not be made possible without your support, and of course with the help of Cutprint Podcast Network's team, headed by Patricia Marie Ferrer, Network and Podcast Manager Ellie Kiron Cole, Social Media Manager Rowan Palomares, Business Development Team Lead Lee Lirio, and from the creative side, Christina Lido and Andre Luis Castillo Ibanez. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Stitcher, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, or wherever else you get your podcasts from.
Third World Cinema